Good morning to all of you. Yesterday we did, yesterday means on Saturday, we did the ETS or ETC, electron transport chain, in which we did how a proton and the electron, they are transferred along the transport chain, and how the concentration of protons or hydrogen ions increase in the intermembrane space. So I told you how is mitochondria. Mitochondria has the intermembrane. This is intermembrane space, and this is the membrane, and this is the matrix. This is what I told you. This is intermembrane space. This is inner membrane. This is inner membrane. This is what I told you. Inner membrane. This is matrix. This is intermembrane space. Intermembrane space. This is how it is present in mitochondria. If we see mitochondria, it is like this. These are cristae. This one is inner membrane. This space is intermembrane space, and this is matrix. And that means we have an outer membrane over here, but outer membrane has nothing to, this membrane has nothing to do. So where the process takes place, it is matrix, inner membrane, and intermembrane. So the concentration, as I told you during the process, what happens that the concentration of, just a minute, this is not visible to you. So the concentration of protons, they increase here because of the transfer. NADH2 gets broken here, down here. Okay, and then electrons, they move about here. Pair of electrons move down the complexes, down the complex, the electron acceptor complex, the electron move, and the concentration of protons increase in the intermembrane space. It keeps on increasing. So the concentration of protons increases in the intermembrane space, and the pair of electron keeps moving down the inner membrane along the complexes, electron acceptor complexes. And finally, what do we get? That pair of electron enters here, combines with some protons which are here, plus half O2, and what is formed is water molecule. This is what is given out. So we have done this till here. Now I told you that a proton gradient develops. Because of high concentration of this protons in the intermembrane space, a proton gradient develops. And because of breakdown of this proton gradient, energy is released. When this proton gradient, it breaks down. What happens? Energy is released. And this energy is utilized in combining ADP plus P to give ATP. And this process happens. See, till proton gradient, it was in ETC. Till proton gradient, it was in electron transport chain. Then after the proton gradient develops, breakdown of proton gradient and all, this takes place in F0, F1 particle. F0, F1 particle, which is present again on inner membrane, and the process is known as oxidative phosphorylation. So till development of proton gradient means high concentration of protons on in the intermembrane space. Okay, and low concentration here, it becomes, the proton concentration becomes low. So a proton gradient develops. This development of proton gradient is in electron transport chain. After the proton gradient develops, then comes the chance of oxidative phosphorylation, which takes place in F0, F1 particles, which are located in the inner membrane. And there, what happens? Proton gradient, which was developed, it breaks down. There is breakdown of proton gradient, which releases energy, and this energy which is released, this is utilized in combining ADP with with P with the release of ATP. Thus ATP is formed. So this layout is okay. The sketch which I gave you of oxidative phosphorylation, is it okay, beta? Is it okay? Yes, bache? Okay. To everybody, only Priya's answer I have got. Okay. Yes. To everybody, beta. This is clear to everybody. Yes, bache, is it clear? I want answer from everybody. It should be clear to you all, not to one or two. Yes, bache? Okay, Amrita is also saying clear. Siksha is also saying clear. Yes. So till here it was, we have done this. Now we start with oxidative phosphorylation. So let's start with oxidative phosphorylation. Oxidative phosphorylation which takes place in F0, F1 particles which are located in inner membrane of mitochondria. So here it takes place, oxidative phosphorylation. Now, what happens during this process of oxidative phosphorylation? We have the structure like this. This is the outer membrane. Okay. We have this as the intermembrane space, and then we have the cristae like this. Let's make it double membrane because we have to, let's give it some diameter because we have to show the F0, F1 particle. This is outer membrane. This is outer membrane. Outer membrane, which is of no use to us. This doesn't play any role. This is intermembrane space. Intermembrane space. And this is inner membrane. This complete structure is inner membrane. So what happens here? We have here, I'm making just one F0, F1 particle. F0, F1 particle is something like this. Then we have a stalk. Then we have this. This is F0. This is F1 particle. This is stalk. Now, what happens? And we have the intermembrane space has high protons. So a number of protons are present here because the proton increase in the intermembrane space. The proton gradient have developed when the number of protons have increased in the intermembrane space. Now, the breakdown of this proton gradient will take place. For that, one proton, when the breakdown takes place, that means the proton starts diffusing towards the matrix. This is matrix. This is also matrix. This is also matrix. So the protons from their higher concentration starts moving towards the lower concentration. As I told you, the concentration of protons or the number of protons are more now in intermembrane space because of ETS, electron transport chain or electron transport system. The number of protons have increased in the intermembrane space, and the number of protons are very less, very less in the matrix. So always there is in diffusion, what is there? From higher concentration, movement is towards the lower concentration, higher concentration towards lower concentration. So the same thing will happen. Protons from their higher concentration will start moving to their lower concentration. Protons are in high concentration in the intermembrane space, so they will start moving towards the matrix which has lower concentration of protons. Now what happens? Suppose I'll show you here, because the protons have to ultimately come to the ATP synthetase. F0 F1 particle is also known as ATP synthetase. We call it together ATP synthetase also. ATP synthetase. So what happens? This, because of the breakdown, as they start diffusing towards the matrix, the energy is released. That means they move with very high energy. Okay, they move with high energy, and when they come here, that means the proton gradient is broken. So proton gradient, when it breaks, the energy is released, and that energy which is released because now they have entered the matrix through these F0 particle is also known as transmembrane channel. F0 particle is also known as transmembrane channel. And these particles, they will always move through the F0 particle. This is also F0, because these are the channels through which the protons can move. The protons will diffuse from the intermembrane space into the matrix only through the transmembrane channels, which are F0 particles located on inner membrane of mitochondria. So here I have shown one F0 particle. So when the proton gradient is broken, the proton from the intermembrane space starts moving towards the matrix, and here what comes? The transmembrane channel F0, through which it tends to move. So it moves towards outside, and when it moves towards outside, a lot of energy is released, and that energy which is released, what it did, ATP, this energy combines adenosine diphosphate with phosphate, and what is released in the presence of this energy? This energy combines ADP with T, and what is released? ATP. This is what is formed. So this way, due to the breakdown of the proton gradient, the energy is released, and that energy in F1 particle helps to combine ADP with phosphate, inorganic phosphate, adenosine diphosphate. It combines with the release of a ATP molecule. And this process is known as oxidative phosphorylation, which takes place for the synthesis of ATP molecule. Is it clear, children, till here? Is it clear? Yes. Any problem? Anything which you want me to repeat? Yes, beta. Anything in this? Okay, I'm getting that it is clear, but just one response. That too from Rohan. Anybody else? Yashika. To Yashika also. Tadarani also says it's clear. So, okay, Harsha. Priya Yadav, Sanvi Rana, electron one part. Can you repeat? Electron one part. Okay, that today I didn't tell you. So for that I'll have to make electron part. See, some girl has said to repeat the electron part. So children, that electron part, for that I'll have to make another diagram here. I'll make it. Let me look for the duster. I'll have to make another diagram here for that electron part. what I told you, that this is outer membrane, this is outer membrane, this is intermembrane space, intermembrane space, this is matrix. So what happens, this was what Sanvi you are asking, this is what we did on Saturday, electron transport chain. You want to know about the electron. Okay, so this, the middle, I think this is not clear in your, we have outer membrane, we have intermembrane space, and we have matrix. This we did on Saturday, what you are asking, not today's. Okay, I'll write it little up so that you are able to see it. This is outer membrane. This is outer membrane. This is intermembrane space. And here we have matrix. This is a part of this is a part of the ETC, electron part, which you want to understand, electron transport chain. What I told you, that here NADH2 in the matrix, it dissociates, releasing electron, a pair of electron, proton also. The electron moves to the electron acceptor. Here it is received by that chain which I made, FAD, FES, FADH2, then all that chain. There are 4 or 5 acceptor complexes which I told you, like that. So these 4 complexes which are given in NCERT book. So these electrons, they start moving down the complexes here in the this inner membrane. Not in intermembrane, inner membrane. Not in intermembrane. This is not intermembrane space, this is inner membrane. This is inner membrane, what is happening, because this takes place, and this is outer membrane, intermembrane space. Outer membrane has nothing to do. Intermembrane space. So we have complexes in the inner membrane, and to this one, I made like this, if you remember that day. Like this, then like this. So many complexes I made, if you remember. You remember these complexes I made? Yes, Sanvi remembers, beta? Yes. So the electrons, they start moving through these complexes, they move. Whereas when they release energy, when they move through the complexes, they transfer the protons from here into the intermembrane space. The protons, they come into the intermembrane space. The protons come into the intermembrane space, and the electron keeps on moving down the complexes. When it reaches the last complex, it enters that was A1, complex A1. So when it reaches the last complex, after that it enters the matrix. In the matrix, it combines with this electron, which now is here. It combines with a proton, and also it combines with half O2, forming water. Water was formed. Just the electron moves down the complexes. Okay, this was there. And because of this, the proton gradient develops. Development of proton gradient means the number of protons in the intermembrane space increases. And during oxidative phosphorylation, this gradient is broken down when the energy is released. Is it clear now? Yes, beta, is it clear? Yes. Okay. Now, beta, that day I told you, okay, fine. That day I told you to write the balance sheet. It's okay, Sanvi. To write the balance sheet, the number of ATPs formed during glycolysis and Krebs cycle. I gave you this work, but nobody sent me. Nobody. I was looking for the messages in WhatsApp, but I didn't get any answer. I didn't get any message. Nobody has sent me the balance sheet. The number of ATPs produced as a result of glycolysis and Krebs cycle, I could not see, because nobody has done it. I told you that is very important, because we have to start with the balance sheet of the complete aerobic respiration. But I think you people didn't do it. But I didn't know where to send. Tadarani, that is, you are not in the, you are not included in the group. Okay, you do one thing. You send me your phone number just now. I'll include you in the group. Come on, send me your phone number just now. Tadar, send me your phone number, beta. What is your phone number? Just a minute, I'll write it. I'll include you in the group. The number, say, right, show me again. Show me again. Tadar, I could not write. Show me again. Tadarani, 8787. Just a minute, bacha. Okay, fine. So, beta, this was important so that we are able to do the balance sheet of the complete process properly. That's why I gave you this work. So that if you understand for glycolysis and Krebs cycle, it will be easy for you to understand the balance sheet of complete aerobic respiration. But you people didn't do. Now today I'll be telling you the complete balance sheet of the of aerobic respiration. Now you will do it yourself. I'll make you understand here, but you are going to repeat it, write it, repeat it, write it, and send me on WhatsApp. So here, I'll start with the balance sheet of the complete aerobic respiration. Then when we say balance sheet in case of aerobic respiration, we are talking about the number of ATPs produced as a result of aerobic respiration. Now here, which processes are included in aerobic respiration? That I want to tell you first. So the processes which are included in aerobic respiration, the processes are glycolysis. This is a common process for in both aerobic and anaerobic. The second is Krebs cycle. After that, there was before Krebs cycle, we can also write the gateway step or oxidative decarboxylation gateway step, also known as oxidative decarboxylation. Then after this we had Krebs cycle. So basically the number of, because in the last one which we just did yesterday, ETS, no ATPs are formed, or ETC, whatever you can say. ETS or ETC, no ATPs are formed. This is just, how the NADP is broken down to develop a proton gradient. This is for that. So this is not included in when we count for the number of ATPs produced, because in ETC or ETS, what happens? A proton gradient it only develops by the breakdown of NADH2 and the release of a pair of electrons and protons. The number of protons increase in the intermembrane space, thus developing a proton gradient. This is done in this. No ATPs are produced in ETS or ETC. So we do not count the this cycle when we are preparing the balance sheet of complete aerobic respiration. So here we will just take three processes, which is glycolysis, the oxidative decarboxylation, which is also known as gateway step, and then Krebs cycle. So here I'll take first of all, here I'll write the processes in the first one, and the second one I'll write the number of ATPs produced. In the third one, I'll write the number of NADH2 produced, and the fourth one total we can write down. So these are the name of processes. Process. Here I'm writing process. Here I am writing ATP is produced. Why to write produced? You can understand. Here NADH2 produced, and here total, the gross production of ATPs. Okay, now this way I'll tell you the balance sheet. So I told you in aerobic respiration, the first is glycolysis, and glycolysis is a common step for both. That means for the aerobic and anaerobic respiration. But here we are dealing with aerobic. So we will have to take glycolysis also. So glycolysis first. In glycolysis, if you remember in glycolysis, 4 ATPs were formed and 2 ATPs were utilized. In the early stages of reactions, 2 ATPs were utilized, and in the later stages of reactions, 4 ATPs were formed. So net gain was 2 ATP. Do you remember this? The glycolysis process? Do you remember, beta? 2 ATPs were produced. How many ATPs were produced? Yes, Tadarani is saying yes, because 4 were formed actually and 2 were utilized. So 4 minus 2, in all we get 2 ATPs. 2 others also, do you remember this, that 2 ATPs were produced in glycolysis? Yes, beta, can you tell me the steps where the ATPs were produced? Can you tell me the steps of glycolysis where ATPs were synthesized? There were 2 molecules at one time. Yes, anybody remembers the steps where ATPs were synthesized 2 at a time? Yes, bache? Like ATPs, where ATPs were utilized, that was when glucose converted into glucose 6-phosphate. At that time, ATP was utilized. Glucose to glucose 6-phosphate. At that time, ATP was utilized. Have you written it somewhere? Have you written it somewhere, or have you taken the screenshots, or have you recorded it? I send you my YouTube links. I think you must be having those records with you. So yes, written. Tadarani, yes. I'm getting response only from Tadarani. Nobody else is responding. So glucose to glucose 6-phosphate. When the glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate, at that time 1 ATP is utilized. And the second time when 1 ATP is utilized, that is when fructose 6-phosphate gets converted into fructose 1,6-biphosphate. At that time also 1 ATP was utilized. So 2 ATPs were utilized. This is what I wanted you to do. See, ATPs in during glycolysis, let me write first utilized. Where the ATPs were utilized. When glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, glucose got converted into glucose 6-phosphate, 1 ATP was utilized. Okay, that means ATP gets converted into ADP. Then we say that ATP is utilized. This is the first step where ATP was utilized. The second step where ATP was utilized was glucose 6-phosphate. This is glucose 6-phosphate got converted into glucose 1,6-biphosphate. Glucose 1,6-biphosphate. At that time also 1 ATP was utilized. ATP got converted into ADP. So these were the 2 steps when ATP was utilized. Okay. Then where ATP was synthesized in glycolysis? Synthesized. The steps where ATP was synthesized. So in all here 2 ATPs are utilized, and number of ATPs synthesized, again 2 steps. One, when 1,3-biphosphoglycerate got converted into 3-phosphoglycerate. 1,3-biphosphoglycerate got converted into 3-phosphoglycerate. At that time, ADP got converted into ATP. And how many ATPs were formed here? 2 ATPs were formed. This was the first step when ATP was synthesized. Second step where ATP was synthesized was the last step when phosphoenol pyruvate got converted into pyruvic acid. So phosphoenol pyruvate got converted into pyruvic acid. So at that time, again, ADP received one inorganic phosphate and got converted into ATP. Again, here two molecules are formed. So in all, 4 ATPs were synthesized during these steps. Okay, during these steps, 4 ATPs were synthesized and 2 were utilized. So overall, during the process of glycolysis, number of ATPs produced were 4 were synthesized, 2 were utilized, so 2 ATP. This was the the net ATP production during the process of glycolysis. This was about glycolysis ATP. Now we come to NADH2. How many NADH2 were synthesized during the process of glycolysis? Anybody remembers? Anybody remembers? And what was that step? What was that step? That step when there was splitting of fructose 1,6 biphosphate took place. After splitting glyceraldehyde, it formed 1,3 biphosphoglycerate. That was this was only synthesized. NADP synthesized at one step, and that step was glyceraldehyde. Got converted into 1,3 biphosphoglycerate. At that time, NAD got converted into NADH2 and two molecules were formed. Two molecules were formed. So in all, NADP synthesized were two. NADP synthesized were two. In all, two NADP were synthesized, just two NADP during the entire process of glycolysis. And one NADH2 is equal to how many ATPs? One NADH2 is equal to how many ATPs? Who's going to tell me? One NADH2 is equal to how many ATPs? 3 ATPs. Yes, again it's Tadarani. One NADH2 is 3 ATP. So two are formed. So 2 into 3 is equal to 6 ATPs. So in all, during the process of glycolysis, from NADH2 we got 6 ATPs. So how many total? The gross, if we take the gross ATPs form, it is 2 plus 6 is equal to 8 ATPs. During the entire process of glycolysis, 8 ATPs were formed like this. Could you understand this? Is it clear the number of ATPs produced during the entire process of glycolysis? Yes, is it clear? Anything you want me to repeat? Okay, Amrita is saying it's clear. Yes, ma'am, it's clear. Rohan, Tadar. Yes, Yashika, is it clear? Priya, is it clear? Okay. Priya, is it clear, beta? Priya. Okay. Sanvi, Harsha, Lalit. Sanvi, Harsha, Lalit. Yashika, just take attendance and send me. Yashika, take this attendance and send me. Okay. Anybody else? Harsha, Lalit. To everybody. Sarthak Mahajan. Sarthak Mahajan, is it clear? So that I can proceed. So glycolysis yields 8 ATPs. Process of glycolysis during the aerobic respiration yields 8 ATPs. We come to the next process of aerobic respiration, which is Krebs cycle. And now we will understand how many ATPs are produced during the Krebs cycle. So the next process, I'll have to erase this for the next process. Okay. We come to the next process, which is Krebs cycle. What happens during, no, before Krebs cycle, let's start with oxidative decarboxylation or gateway step. Oxidative